Welcome to That's How We Do episode 6, the poker episode, right here live on odds.com headquarters. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I have been so excited about this episode. Sorry about that. Volume on my computer. I've been so excited about this episode. In this series, we try to talk about the most important things that low baggers want to talk about and break down. We want to ask the questions that aren't asked. And we want to break down the different elements of our life and how we can succeed gambling. And so many of us have gone right to the felt. So many of us in different periods of our life have tried to earn a living playing poker. And I am one of them. And we are going to spend this episode breaking down the ins and outs of the felt, whether it be cash games, tournaments, Vegas, home games. We're going to break it all down. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We got Lamont Williams in the house, Buzz Nuts, Paco, Healy, Pitching Doc with Jacob and Caden. Thank you guys for joining us. And we have a special guest on the show, one of North America's best stand-up comedians. You have seen him here on odds.com. He was part of our NFL draft show. He's a spectacular poker player whom I've played many, many hours with, whether it be here in Toronto or in Las Vegas, where we have smashed poker rooms together as well. He's written for two of Canada's longest-running comedy series. 5 years on This Hour is 22 Minutes, 15 seasons on the Rick Mercer Report, Gemini Awards, Canadian Screen Awards, Writers Guild Awards, Canadian Comedy Awards, Emmy Awards. But what he wants is to take your money on the felt. And I can't wait to bring him onto the show right now. Please welcome OG Lowbagger, being with us since day one, Tim Steeves in the house. Tim, what's happening, my man?
Hey, Jimmy. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I've been so excited about this episode. We have spent thousands of hours looking across at each other on the poker table, and you are a menace. You are
a lot of blood has been shed, man. It's true.
You are difficult. You are
tricky. I mean, the way that you were introing the episode, man, I was like, they must have somebody good for this, and then like, oh shit, it's me. What are we talking about, dude? You know. I am, but I am a low bagger, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I do fit the bill. I definitely fit the bill, man.
You fit the bill, but you are the perfect person for this episode because you take poker very seriously, and you've played in the World Series of Poker. You've been down to Vegas countless times. I've been with you. We got Connor Mack picks in the house. Boston Nick, a.k.a. the Lock Nick Monster, a.k.a. Mr. Fat Fist here joining us. And let's get to work. Let's get to work right now. A series of questions we'll be throwing back and forth. Feel free for you guys in the chat to fire in questions yourself. But we can't start without figuring out and talking about how do you view yourself as a poker player? That's got to be our starting point. Before we branch off.
There you look, Jimmy. Great. That's a great start because that we got to ask ourselves, we have to all sleep at night, right? And we all have to understand, what do you want from the game? You know? And so like for me, I view myself as a grinding recreational player that likes to win. So I know lots of my friends like to play and, they view my style as a little too tight to have fun. But when I win money, that's fun for me, right? So I'm probably viewed in my home game circles, and the guys that I play with a lot, they probably view me as a little on the snug side. I don't know. Maybe I'm selling myself a little short there, but I find it fun to win. You know, a lot of people... I've heard a lot of people say, geez, Tim, you're a little, why don't you splash around a little more? I said, well, I'm up 200 units and that feels like splashy to me. I'd feel great. My weekend's paid for, right? So that kind of stuff. So I view myself as a grinding wreck, kind of amateur, obviously super amateur. like, like really amateur, but confident. Like when I sit down, I have an idea of what I want to do and how to do it.
And how often do you play?
Under normal circumstances, like, obviously 2020 aside, I play, once or twice a week. But I always live. Like I was sworn off online for years. And then I went back to online during COVID, because what are you going to do, right?
Yeah, you've moved online. You have a home game that you host once a week, and you also play in an underground game. Is that right?
Yeah, I played in some underground games, and over the years, I've started to find them a little sketchy. The ones that I was going to, I stopped going to, but then I found some tournaments that are great. So I play in some, particularly one guy in the area hosts really great tournaments. So I play his events when I can, and that usually gets 150 people at a good buy-in. So that's a really juicy tournament.
So you view yourself as a grinding, and you say yourself a grinding amateur player.
Oh yeah.
How do you think that you are perceived when you hit the table? And let's talk about how are you perceived when you hit the table, let's say in a Toronto local game, and how are you perceived as you hit the table in Las Vegas? Oh, looks like we've got a frozen.
I'm sorry, but I heard the very beginning of that, and then the very end of it. So
No
how
problem. Yeah,
how do you think? How do I think I'm perceived at the table?
When you hit the table, how do you think you're perceived when you hit the table in a local table here in Toronto? And how do you think you're perceived when you hit the table
it's kind of getting jumpy on me. Okay, yeah, I'm with you.
Perceived when you hit the table here in Toronto or in Vegas? All right, we're getting some internet issues. Can you hear me right now?
Right.
Are we good? We good right now? No worries. Okay.
Oh man,
it's
I
all
heard
good.
I'm getting the gist of that though. Have you got me?
Yeah, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Good to go. Yeah. So let me try.
Is there anything I can do on my end, man?
Let me just try bringing you in and out.
So I think I got the gist of your question, man. It's like, how am I perceived in the different games?
Yeah.
Should I get my tech expert down here, bud?
No, I think it's just an internet speed issue. I think we're doing fine. I think we're going to be okay. Unless are you able to hear me right now? We got Mason Rogers, Beach Boss, Dutch.
I'm only getting part of you, man.
You're only getting part of me.
Oh, now you're good. There, you're good.
Okay. Let's just see if we can roll through, and if we need to make a change.
You're jumbling.
I'm jumbling. Okay, I'll bring you in and out. Let me see if let's see if the Lochneck Monster has this. Let's bring him in and out. All right, let's bring him in. How's that sound now?
That sounds great.
Okay, let's do it. So
you got me?
Yeah, you're good to go. You told us how you view yourself as a player. How do you think you're perceived when you hit the table, whether it be a Toronto local game or the Venetian in Vegas?
Well, if I'm playing with people that have never seen me before, I'm probably underestimated most times because I've got some shaky hands. I'm a little bit shaky, and the nervous system has always been a little bit jumpy. And so initially they probably view me as nervous and underestimate me, which is great. And I've come to exploit that. Over the years, I've learned to use that.
Yeah.
My tech team just arrived, but we're good. Thank you.
An interesting question from Beach Boss, and we'll get into this more in a bit. Beach Boss, whom we love dearly, says, I'm always perceived as drunk when I hit the table.
Yeah.
How do you handle that? Do you drink while you're playing?
I like to party. Listen, if I'm going to Vegas and I've got 3 nights, I'm going to try to have my cake and eat it too, unlike anybody else, right? I want to have it every which way. I want to play good. I want to win money. I want to get my party on. I want to have a good meal. You know what I everything but see a show. I couldn't give a fuck about seeing a show, but everything else I want to do, right? And not everything else, honey. You didn't hear that, tech team. But you know what I mean? Like, if I'm in town for 3 days, I want to play a shitload of poker, and I want to have some fun and watch UFC and get a buzz on for sure. So let's say, you want to drink at the table. Well, you got to sort of, decide how you're going to do that beforehand is the best way to do it. So that you, before you leave the hotel room, you say, okay, what's the plan here, big guy, and try to have some kind of a semblance of a plan, because if you just go willy-nilly into the night, it can be really rough out there. So one of the best ways to do it, which is a luxury most people don't have, is get your buddy to shoulder you and just sit behind you while you get smashed and rip a table down. And then the first time your buddy sees you make a play that they can't understand, they just make you rack it up and you leave. And so you have a lifeguard, right? But most people don't have a luxury of having a buddy that will sit there and watch them be an idiot for a few hours, right?
I mean, I've watched you at a table drinking in Vegas, having a great time. I've left you at 4 a.m. We've come back and caught you there still at 11 a.m.
Yeah, I can play long stretches. One time at the Venetian, I started on a Friday at like supper time on a Friday, and on Sunday morning, the pit boss came over and forced me to get a cab because he said, I've been on and off shift and I'm back and you're getting in a cab.
So you can use the table's perception of you to your advantage. If they think that you're a booze bag, you can tighten up,
right?
And you can use that. And let's start breaking that down throughout the course of the evening. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Episode 6. That's how we do. Tournament and cash games are two different animals. Mm-hmm. Why don't we start off with, what do you prefer?
I used to be almost just cash. For the whole first 10 years of playing cards, I only played cash games. And then everybody read the same book and everybody went to the same training videos, and cash games started to get really hard. And so I said, I'm going to investigate tournaments. And then I started doing pretty good in tournaments. And so, but cash is really difficult and not the way it used to be. In 2008, you could get off the plane in Vegas and just start re-raising on the tarmac. It was like an ATM, right? If you were decent, but now everybody's a lot better. The game has just really picked up in all facets. Like it's just a lot tougher, and you have to be that much more ready to fight it out. So I guess my short answer is I never used to be much of a tournament enthusiast, but now I just love tournaments and I really enjoy the romance of them. And like you mentioned, I've played in the WSOP 3 events, not the main, but the what the pros would call the donkiments, those 1,500 entry fees worth like 4,000 punters, and those are amazing experience because you're inside the ropes. And I sat beside John Jawanda for a couple of hours. I've sat beside all kinds of different pros and at tables with them, and you see how they operate. And it's very cool because imagine if you could take your set of golf clubs out and play in the PGA on a Sunday just as a lark. You paid your 10 grand and you're going to tee it up with Spieth or somebody. That's basically what you're doing, and it's pretty mind blowing. So what happened to me was after I played those events, I started destroying all the other games that I was in for about a year. I just steamrolled everybody for about a year, and then that magic wore off somewhere along the way, and you get married and you lose that extra bit of cowboy.
Yeah. For me, I want cash games. I want all the money up for grabs every hand. I need that edge. Right. I've always needed that edge. But I've learned from all our trips to Vegas that something changes in me in the second half of my trip. So I get down to Vegas and I'm just like, let's fucking go. I buy in for the max. Now I only hit 1, 2, or 1, 3 tables. So a $300 buy-in. I buy in for the max. I always have, at least 2 more buy-ins in my pocket. And I attack. And then something happens to me and I can't figure out how to fix it until recently. I start thinking about how much cash I'm taking home in the second half of my trip. And was this a success? Right. And that's the only times I start playing tournaments because something changes in my attack mode in the second half of my Vegas trips. But I don't want to play a tournament, and I especially don't want to play a tournament in Vegas. The last thing I want to do is be, grinding away for 4 or 5 hours in bubble. Like
nobody wants to spend 7 hours of Vegas time to come bubble, to bubble. Nobody wants that. But I totally appreciate what you're saying. And so are you saying that so you go in, you're in attack mode and then you build up some winnings and then you start to look at your winnings? Is that what you mean?
It's not that I'm looking at my chips on the table or anything like that. Right. That never happens. I don't.
You're looking at the trip as a whole.
Yeah. And I take those trips to Vegas so seriously. It's all about making money. And when we went down to Vegas last time, we went down together. Went down with Reichert. We wouldn't see each other for long periods of time.
Right.
We're not there to have. It's not a fun. We're not there to go have fun.
No, we're
for
working,
us,
man.
Going from poker room to poker room to poker room is having fun. The grind is having fun.
It's so much fun, and it's man. I've gone for different stretches, and that's another thing we should talk about is like how long should you go to Vegas, right? And I've experimented with that over the years, big time. And so I've done the 3-day, the 4-day, the 5-day. I went for a week once, and I wouldn't recommend that for anyone. No matter how disciplined you think you are, a week is no good. I got in the cab on the way back to the airport at the end, and the guy looked in the rearview mirror and said, "How long have you been here, man?" And I said, "A week," and he just started shaking his head, and he goes, 3 nights, brother, 3 nights, and he's got a lot, there's a lot of wisdom to that.
See, I don't like the 3 days. I don't like the 3 nights.
No, I like 4 nights. I like 4 nights.
I
4
want
nights
7.
and 5 days.
I want 7.
Yeah, well, 7 I've done it, and you know what? I didn't hate it. But I'll tell you what. Another funny thing that happened, Jimbo, is I got to Aria, and I had about 6 hours to kill before my midnight flight on my last day. So I've been there a whole week, right? So I've got 6 hours, and I haven't really been to Aria much. I'll go try there. So I sit down, and the dealer starts putting out the cards, sees me in about the 5th seat, looks up and goes, "Did you move here?" With all seriousness, like totally had seen me last week and just like assumed, right? He goes, "Did you move here?" And I'm like, "No, dude, I'm just a fucking degen,
See, I have a balance in Vegas because of the sports and the horse racing.
Right. You have other activities.
I have other activities, and I know you're just poker, so that's probably why I like a week trip.
Yeah, well, sure, you can get a lot more events in and stuff, and weekend to weekend. 100%.
We got some great cappers and great poker players in the chat. Cheech Martinez, my guy Cheech Martinez, talking my language now. Win money at poker, lose it at ponies. Man, yeah. And we have got Gabe Killian, the spectacular MMA capper, joining us. Gabe also. So Tim Steeves and myself. I haven't been doing stand-up since I went down south. But 17 years of my life doing stand-up. Gabe Killian, Comedy Store comedian and MMA.
Wow.
Capper.
Right on.
Gabe Killian with us. I did the Comedy Store from Sunday night to Thursday night for about a year and a half, 2003 to halfway through 2004. Tim lived down in LA.
My guys always got me up at the Improv for whatever reason.
Okay. I feel you. Let's keep rolling here. Okay. So we've talked about tournament and cash, and they're two different animals. So we're going to talk about, Gabe. We're going to talk about the best poker rooms in Vegas. We're going to talk about all those things. So we got just a litany of angles in here and things we want to talk about. But let's talk about tournament and cash games. How do you, because they're two different animals, how do you attack them differently? Because they're not played the same. So tell us your plans if you're playing a cash game or you're playing a tournament game.
If I'm playing a cash game, my approach is almost always the same. I'm going to be nice and tight until I win a couple of battles, and then proceed with the information that I've learned from thus far. Okay, so if I am at a tight table, I'm going to loosen up big time, and if I'm at a splashy table, I'm going to stay nice and snug and make sure I have something to show them. Very basic. So my cash game strategy is just like A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, because I'm usually playing stakes that works, right? I'm playing 1, 2, 1, 3, at the most 2, 5. You're not going to catch me playing 5, 10 very often or ever, right? So at the stakes I play, an ABC scheme works really, really good. And the reason that everyone doesn't do it is it takes about an ounce of discipline. Most guys don't have an ounce of discipline. So you exploit them, and you find out who the other 2 or 3 guys are that are on your same page. And when you get into pots with them, you proceed with caution. And it's basically, that's my cash strategy, is pretty simple. And most times people see what you're doing and it still doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because they don't have the discipline to fold when they have top pair, and you've got a set and they're going to pay you off. And simple as that. And you have to be the one that is just a little bit more patient. And now once you start racking up a few wins with the patience, then let's mix in a really big bluff and show it. I love doing that. So after I played tight for an hour, I'm talking about like an hour and a half of playing nice and tight, and then show a giant bluff with somebody else's money. And now you're into the whole froth of the game now, right? And that's simple. And it doesn't matter. You could write that on a bridge on the way to the casino, and everyone can read it, and it won't matter. You can still beat everybody with that. It just works. Because people can't sit on their leather ass for an hour and a half, and I can.
Yeah. But I've also seen you, and talk about the difference between this and in a tournament. I've seen you sit down at a cash game and point at the person who's got the biggest chip stack, let's say old guy with like 12, 1,500, and say, and I've watched you say, I'm going to take all of your chips in front of everybody with a big smile, and you order a drink.
It's true. I have done the cocky approach too. I've done that. Sometimes that might be a case of I've won at a couple of other rooms already that day, and I'm coming in with 3 scotches in me, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to mow everybody down now. And back to, do you drink at the game? Well, if I'm always the sort of same approach, one way to shake it is just let's play one room tonight with a few drinks and mix it up. So I can do the Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing pretty good. I can still do the math pretty good hammered. So sometimes I will just say, okay, fuck it. Let's get bombed and run everybody over. And if I lose these 500 units that I won earlier, who gives a fuck? And then that's a very dangerous approach for everybody. It's very volatile and it's a lot of fun. And I'd be lying if I didn't say I don't do that sometimes.
But when you do that, then do you need to play that up? Do you need to re-raise early?
No, you can. One cool thing about if you're drunk and being a loudmouth, and if I always sort of feel bad when I use my mouth at the table because I'm a professional comedian of 35 years. It almost feels like I'm using my kung fu at a class a little bit, I'm sweeping the leg a little, but I've had enough people tell me, fuck that, man. You got to use whatever you got. Right. So if I'm getting under somebody's skin with my loudmouth, they don't notice that I haven't played a hand in 7 hands. Your mouth can give this perceived, there's perception that you're actually playing pots when you haven't been involved in a whole orbit, right? But because you're talking shit, they feel like you're giving action. That's a weird phenomenon.
Oh, it's such a good point. That's an absolutely good point, because they think that you've been involved in everything just because you keep Squawk?
Chirping. Yeah, if you can just chirp, if you can keep the chirping going a little bit, and you got to be careful with that, because if you piss everybody off, then you're going into the wind, right? What's really great is if you can get one guy going and everybody else thinks you're funny. Oh, then you're on easy street, because you're getting 6 or 7 people laughing at you and 1 or 2 people seething. Then you're in the sweet spot.
No, it's a good point. It's a good point. The next question I'm going to ask you is how can you tell the difference between a rec player and a pro? But before I ask you that question, Dutch Boy Fresh has a question. Said, what's an opening hand for Tim? 2-5 game, under the gun.
Under the gun, I'm going to be pretty tight. I'll play, on the low side of the range, I'd play ace 5 suited. Maybe ace low suited. That would be the low end of the range. I'm probably not going to play king queen offsuit. That would probably be where I'd start cutting it off. I wouldn't play king queen off under the gun. Maybe not even king queen suited under the gun in 2-5, because you're so, you're looking at so many hands behind you, and you're out of position to the whole world. So you just got to be really careful under the gun. Now, it's also time dependent. If we've been playing for 6 hours and you have a certain, image and people think a certain way about you, then you might want to go against the grain on that. But as far as just the straight math of it, I might play ace 5 suited and better, and that would be about the cutoff.
How can you tell the difference between a rec player and a pro?
Well, the size of the bets probably is one of the easiest, fastest ways. Like if they're betting the absolute proper sizes all the time and their timing, and if they're really comfortable playing all the streets, like if they're really cozy to play 4th Street and 5th Street and just feel out their man and they know where they're at in the hand. And the biggest reveal is at showdown. Let's say it goes all the way to showdown and somebody opens a pair of 3s because they knew they were ahead with a pair of 3s, on a king high board. That's a pretty good reveal that the guy knows what he's doing over there, right? So kind of like how they deal with their chips in live poker, obviously, like how they handle their chips is one of the fastest things too, is like, and they don't have to be doing tricks with them, just the way they grab them to bet and how comfortable they are playing all 3 streets. It's not rocket science, and pros have a big ego. Pros want you to know that they're pros in a weird way. They're not, the old sit down and act like a rube thing doesn't really exist. They have big egos. And so they sit down and they start doing chip tricks and they start re-raising. Then, okay, this guy is, just, and as far as who's a pro and who's a rec, there's so many shades of, white belt to black belt that, where do you even draw the line? Really, it's more like who's the winning player at this table right now, tonight, as we play right now,
Mm-hmm. I have so many questions to fire at you. I'm going to speed this up a little bit.
Sure, man. I hope I'm not getting too
you're
like.
Perfect. This is perfect. No, I'll control the speed. You're doing perfect. But the questions are coming in from the chat, and they're very interesting. And I love my man Beach Boss so much. And he says to straddle or not to straddle, and we deal with this so much in our home game. Dutch Boy Fresh says I straddle the button. Let's ask you to straddle or not to straddle.
Yes. Well, straddling is great because it just juices the action so beautifully, and it's a great social aspect of the cash game too, because you can rib each other and remind each other that hey, you could straddle if you wanted to, and it's a good pissing match. It's like it just gets the game going, and everybody loves it. Anybody who doesn't love the straddle isn't paying attention, because it just gets more money in the middle and it's more fun, and and luck favors the bold when it comes to straddling. I've so many times you straddle and pick up a big hand, and it feels like, yes, the poker gods are watching, and then obviously you know that never happens, but you know what I mean. In a fantasy world, you think in that way.
Yeah. Okay.
I like the Mississippi straddle. Is that what your guy said on the button, right? I think that's called the Mississippi straddle.
Yeah.
We don't get that much in the Canadian rooms.
This is a multifaceted question. So, what do you look for in a table you want to play at? Why don't we start there? And then I'll start firing questions within that.
Sure. Well, that's easy. Yeah.
What do you look for in a table that you want to play at?
Well, you want to hear noise and, and the clinking of ice in drink glasses and people laughing, that kind of stuff, right? You want to hear yahoos partying, right? You don't want to see a bunch of young guys looking at a movie on their device with their earbuds in, grinding, doing the math on a graph, checking their pre-flop graphs and shit. Like simple as that. You want to see people on vacation, having a good time. And that is just, you just want to be changing to that table. Most rooms have at least one or two tables of that going on. Like if you go to the Venetian or the MGM or wherever, Caesars on a given night, at least one of the tables will kind of have that vibe, where people are, hey, cocktails on 5, if you hear people yelling for cocktails, can I get a table change, please? Can I get over there? I want cocktails, because if you're sitting around with a bunch of people listening to their earbuds, it's that's, first of all, it's no fucking fun. You didn't sit on a plane for 5 hours to Vegas to sit around with some knob with his earbuds in. It's more fun to talk to some drunk guy from France.
Without a doubt. And for me, anytime things are going poorly for me in poker, I just walk over to the Flamingo poker.
Yeah, the Dirty Bird's great. Yeah,
for me, the Flamingo, they're partiers. They're not poker players.
I would say the Planet Hollywood too. PH, if you can handle the din of noise and the flood of assholes, like it's just filled with assholes and bad music and sounds. But if you can put up with that, holy geez, there's easy money to be had playing poker at PH. Sometimes, go on the weekend at midnight.
Yeah, it's funny because the Flamingo, the partying atmosphere and all the noise doesn't bother me, but Flamingo sometimes I'm like, I don't. I stay at PH, but there's times where I don't.
It's hard to handle.
Yeah.
It's hard to. I was just shitting on having the earbuds in, but you can. You know what? That's one way to do PH is put your earbuds in and play your Bob Dylan and chill. and that's one way to do PH because man, it's bad. But usually, if I play at Planet Hollywood, I'm going to go at midnight and play till 2 a.m. and just do the 2 hours because the club people are kind of coming in and out, and they'll sit down and they'll just dust off a buy-in. Like the second hand they look down at ace 9 suited and jam, and there's some of that going on. So you can just sit there and be patient and sip a whiskey and wait for your spot to double up and then leave. Which I've done lots of times at that place.
The perfect place for that, like in my history of poker playing, was in Calgary at the Saddle Dome casino there. You wait till the hockey game's out.
Yeah.
You get there about half an hour before the hockey game finishes. And these guys in Flames jerseys are they're just having fun. They're putting in max betting and they don't. Yeah, it's absolutely. Okay, let's keep rolling. So you see a table that you look like you would like to play at.
Sorry, let me jump in real quick. First of all, you're not going to probably get to pick anyway. Like if you go to one of the big rooms, you're just on the board, and when they call your name, they're going to tell you where to go. So if let's say you've been eyeing table 12 and you go, I want to sit there, and then they sit you at table 9, as soon as you sit down, you just look at the dealer and go, hey, good afternoon. Nice to see you. Can I get a table change, sir? Or ma'am, please, first chance. And they'll throw you a little chip that says table change, and then you're up. And so when you get a chance to go to table 12 or 13 or whatever it was, then you can go. And basically you can tell the floor guy that I want a chair over there, and you could be in line because if that's the really good party table, you might. Yeah, I've heard this story before, sir. So you just do the best you can. One thing is though, communicate with the floor guy, communicate with your dealer. Don't be shy, because they'll help you. They want to help you. They want you to have the most fun you can. So if you don't like your chair, you don't like your table, even at your table, maybe you like your table, but you don't want to sit beside the dealer, can I get a seat change, please? Right. So don't grow roots is what somebody taught me. A good player taught me years ago. Don't grow roots in your chair. Don't be shy to move around. And yeah.
It's such an important point. And it's made my trips to Vegas so much more enjoyable, because the first, I don't know, dozen times to Vegas, for whatever reason, I didn't have the balls to say, look, I want a table change. I don't know why. I don't know why.
You're just shy, man. Those big rooms are friggin' intimidating, man. When you get into those big rooms, and sometimes the floor guy's a bit of a hard on and stuff, and people get shy and stuff. I was the same way. And I went down there one time with Reichert, and he was like, dude, we got to get the hell out of here, man. Like, this isn't working for us. We've been here 2.5 hours. You're down 100. I'm down 200. Let's get the fuck out of here. We're in Las Vegas. We don't have to settle for this shit room right now.
And I've gone many times with Reichert down to Vegas, and we both do this never block, because all we want to do is gamble. So anytime you want to make a move, I'm down to make a move. And anytime I sit beside somebody coughing and sneezing, I get out of there. I'm not going to sit here catch in this fucking loser right here. Okay, so then we see. Okay, so let's just talk. You come into the casino, you get spotted at a table. You probably have between 2 and 30 minutes before you're sitting at that table. Do you come in with a game plan, or do you just go sit down and play?
Well, like in the cash game, I would have an idea of what I want to do, like we were talking about before. In a tournament, I might mix it up depending on what event I'm playing, what happened last time I played. Like I was saying, I play in these events around here on the east side of Toronto sometimes, and it's basically the same group of people, give or take 25 or 30 each time. So ergo, we have a lot of history. A lot of us know each other, how we play and stuff. So when I go to one of those, sometimes I'll decide, okay, I'm just going to be way different today from my usual, right? And I'm just going to have fun. And if I bust out in half an hour, I don't care. But I'm going to just be absolutely opposite of my usual this time right now. And I'll do that about once every 4 times, right? So the other 3 times, I'm just going to play my usual straight ahead game plan of try to win the first couple of battles and then switch it up or not, and decide at that point, right? It's sort of like football. You can design your first 10 plays, but you can't design your first 20 plays, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have questions coming in. Bobbly Swagger, I'm going to copy and paste that question. It's really fun to have these Vegas guys in the chat right now. Connor Mack, Dutch Boy Fresh, who, plays poker, but he plays poker to pay his mortgage and to take care of his life.
Wow.
He doesn't pay poker just to go out and enjoy his Friday night.
That's the real grind, baby.
It's a real grind, and it's a grind that makes my palms sweat, makes me want to gamble, Okay, so we've been talking about Vegas for a little while, and we have a bunch of questions still to come. So let's talk about Vegas. Favorite Vegas poker room?
Oh, well, not to make money necessarily, but the Bellagio, right? I mean, the Bellagio is just sort of like the Mecca, That's the cathedral. It's just so great there. You can get your watermelon juice and vodka. You know what I mean? It's really nice there, man. And if somebody was going to go to Vegas for their first time and do a 3-nighter and they wanted to play cards, I would say, well, just get Bellagio off your list. And then, my favorite rooms to make money are more like the MGM, right? Like I love the MGM for playing a little 1-2, 1-3. Oh man, that's some good loose fun action, right? Go down to MGM at around 10 o'clock and play till 3 a.m. And that's as good loose 1-2 buckle my shoe action as you're going to find. But the Venetian is beautiful. If you can put up with that freaky, weird perfume smell they pump in. But the Venetian is beautiful as far as like they spread everything. You could play some limit there. You can play the great game of pot limit Omaha.
See, for me, I love Bellagio, but I don't play well there. I get caught up in how beautiful it is and how beautiful the ceiling is.
Just getting okay.
Sorry. Okay, no worries. Okay, well, this worked last time when I just pulled you out.
Might have to take me in and out again, bud.
All right, pop you out, bring you back in.
Nope, okay, hang on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Okay.
It's just doing that.
No worries. We think it's StreamYard that's doing it. So I'll pull him out and I'll bring him back in. For me, at the Bellagio, next thing I know, I'm getting a fucking massage, and you can't raise when you're getting a massage. I need to be at the janky rooms, but MGM Grand, even though MGM Grand can be so successful, and I've been there with both Steeves and Reichert when they've had huge nights at MGM Grand. It's just there's 3 tables going. This poker room sucks. I used to love Caesars so much when Caesars had the poker room in the back room, and then Caesars moves it out. And I know why they do, because these nightclubs are making them $2 million, $1.5 million a night. Why would they have a poker room? Like I get that shit. But for me, I want to be where the action is live and the players are drunk. And then a problem that I have is I start getting fucking
man. Shit.
I start getting I don't know what it is. I get a little edgy and I start being a bit of an asshole. And that's something that affects me. So like at Flamingo or at MGM Grand, I start acting like, fuck this place, man. And fuck you guys. I'm going to take your fucking money. And then all of a sudden, I'm the asshole. And then I get, you get that sort of drunken anger. And that helps my poker game. It helps my poker game when I hate everybody at the table, because I'm not a hate guy. In life, I'm not a hate person.
Right.
I got compassion for people. And if somebody drops their groceries and stuff.
You got a big giant.
Yeah. I think you were going to say heart there. Cut out. But I'll take whatever comes after.
Yeah, you got it. No, you got a huge heart, man. Oh, you would have taken anything after huge, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would have. But I like that fucking edge, and poker always gives it to me that I want to take your fucking money.
And it's fun that you're right there across the table. You can talk to each other, and it is fun that you can be whoever you want. Like especially Vegas. Like if you're playing in your local hometown casino, whatever. But when you go to Vegas, man, and you pull up to some game, you can literally decide what kind of character you want to be tonight. And I've seen guys put on an accent and then 2 hours later drop the accent. Like I've seen everything like that. I saw a guy do a really good French accent, play for 2 hours, and then turns out he's from Philadelphia, and it was really good, an older dude. And I was like, wow. And he goes, yeah, I picked up that accent in the war. And I was like, wow, that's pretty good, man.
I find the more that I hate the players that I'm playing with, the better I do. And
that's hilarious.
I've always felt like the bourbon and the whiskey always brought out a little bit of edge
Well, aggression is a huge part of the game, man. And aggression is a huge element, and everybody will tell you if you don't have enough aggression, you're never going to win at this game. And if it takes a couple of bourbons to get that out of you, because I know you're a big sweetie, so well, fuck it, if that's what it takes.
Our boy, my boy Gabe, the stand-up comic I was talking about, who you can see if you go down to the Comedy Store this week.
Right on.
His favorite room is Aria. I haven't played there often. I know it's right because I always stay at Caesar, so it's right there. But did you hammer Aria? Yes,
of course. You can't. Aria has to be on your top of the list. It's just absolutely on par. Lots of people argue with me that it's better than Bellagio, and I just prefer Bellagio. But I can't argue that Aria is right there. It's top notch, and just that's absolutely top notch. Not my preferred nomenclature, but I can totally appreciate Gabe's point of view on that 100%. And I always hit it. I always play a session or two there. It's just not my favorite place to really hang out all the time at.
We've talked about the best time. Well, we haven't really, but we've sort of alluded to it. Why don't we just hit it very quickly before I ask the next question? What is the best time to hit a poker table live, a live casino poker table?
Right. Well, there's a couple of shifts. You either want to crush the day guys or the night guys, right? So if you want to crush the day guys, show up at supper time, and they'll be flagging and they'll be almost done. But that's not really much fun, and that's a very select group of rooms that you have to sort of know what you're doing. It's like obvious 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and play till 3, and be wits about you. Go in there on a giant Starbucks at 10 o'clock and decide you're going to party at 3 a.m, and not until, and you'll do really good. Or like we've been talking about, get your party on. If you can play with a buzz on, then get in there and get at it. But from any room in Vegas from 10 till 3 is the shit. And some of them are really great. MGM at midnight, the big club lets out in there. Wow. that is just beautiful, because every Yahoo that thinks Ace King is the best hand in the world comes in, and it's beautiful.
Ken Mann saying the best time to hit a poker table for him, 2 a.m. to 3 a.m.
Sure.
You have to play. So there's a huge difference about what Tim's talking about, hitting the dinner crowd, because when you go in at 5 o'clock and those 5, 6 o'clock, those older poker players have been there all day. They're hungry, and you come in a little tipsy. They get annoyed by you.
They're cranky, and they're hangry. Just like you said, they're getting hangry, and now you come in a little cocky, and they don't like you at all, and 100%. And that happens like down on Fremont. Go hit the Golden Nugget at supper time and see how many old angry grampies are like, wait, well, I thought I was going to get my tuna sandwich, and now I've got to play this cocky little asshole. And I'm telling you, like 4:30 in the afternoon till 7 at the Golden Nugget. Just for example, you're fucking up grumpy supper time.
And then if you go at 2 to 3 in the morning, that's when you have to tighten up your shit. Because
2 or 3 in the morning is great. That's great. I couldn't argue with dude at all. Not at all.
Do you agree with tightening up your ship at that time, because these drunks are playing everything?
You have to show them something, because they're not going to be folding to your bluff, right? So all you have to do is wait for the best hand, and then they'll pay you off. So it's not necessarily super sexy fun for you, but it's going to be super sexy fun when you show idiot and his girlfriend that you absolutely have it. Because she'll be hanging over his shoulder going, oh, I thought you were good. And then boom, and you just,
So one thing, like for instance, when we're talking about these different ways of handling things, and we're going to talk about this in a second, the big differences between home games and casino games. But for me, like even at Steeves' game in Toronto, and the buy-in's $200, so it's not like we're just there's real money up for grabs, and there's enough money that it's just Tim and I are the only comics left playing the game.
Yeah.
because
We've
there's
scared away most of the comics.
because there's big money up for grabs. But we do have comic tournaments.
Yeah.
And when we have the comic tournaments, we cut it in half. So it's just $100 to be in the tournament. And when I'm playing the comics, and I mean, if they're listening, I don't care. I don't bluff pretty much unless we get a little bit deeper in. I just wait till I have it. You can't bluff. I find it much more difficult to bluff like rank amateurs than it is to bluff amateur who's trying to be a pro or a semi-pro. What do you think of that?
Yeah, well, that's big. That's everything. Like, you got to know who you're in with and what are they thinking, right? You have to be able to answer 3 questions. If you can answer 3 questions in the hand, then you really know where you're at. What do they think I have, right? What do they think that I think they have, right? And what do they pump the brakes?
Okay.
What do they have? Okay, these 3 questions. What do they have? What do they think that I have? And what do they think that I think they have? Okay? If you can answer those 3 questions, then you really know where you're at in the hand, and then you can really exploit it, right? So if the person you're in with doesn't really know the game, doesn't know the math of the game, then you're going to have to proceed with a lot of caution. You can't trust them to fold to anything. So you just sort of have to outplay them as far as having the best hand at showdown a lot, which doesn't take. That's not that hard because they're gonna end up at showdown with King 7 a lot, and you can just win. So it just takes a little bit of knowing who you're up against. The image, who and what do they think of me, right? Like, that's a big part of it, man. What do they think of me? What does your opponent think of you? If you know that, that's huge.
So the more amateur the player, the less I bluff, and I've had nice success at your comic poker tournaments because I'm just like, look, these guys they don't trust me and they don't understand the math properly, and they're just they think their ace is their ace high is good, and I'm going to fold because they're not going to try to bluff me generally.
I would say you're underestimating a portion of the field.
Sure.
You're underestimating a portion of the field, but another portion you're spot on with. I mean, it's really hard to bluff somebody if they think, that their middle pair is good or something. I mean,
or
that's
if they're
tough.
not thinking at all. So the more amateur the player, the less I bluff. Is how I handle things. So, okay, let's go to a very important question. We've talked about, so you succeed at the 1-3 table in Vegas. You buy in for 300. You've got 300 in your pocket. You turn your 300 into just under, let's say 1100. Let's say you got just over a T in front of you.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Right.
Do you A, level up?
Right.
Do you B, stay and try to increase that because you've built up a stack in a 300 max buy-in, so you're going to be the chip leader at your table? Or do you see leave?
Okay, that's great question, and the cool thing is there's no wrong answer right there. If you've turned 300 into 1100, leaving is a fair enough play. Staying is good. And moving up to 2-5, also great. Go for it, young man, right? Or a young woman, 100%. I had to backtrack on my misogynist girlfriend impression back there. I just want to apologize to the Twitterverse. Anyway, I'm going to confess, I'm not a big move up guy because of my sports background. If something's working, why change it, right? So if I've turned 300 into 1100, and the table hasn't dramatically changed, if all the participants haven't turned over or something, I'm probably going to keep going as the ringleader and just keep putting my shoulder in, right? if I'm up to 1,100 and a whole bunch of the people that I've won money from have now left, and a whole bunch of other different characters have come in that I'm not crazy about playing against, maybe I would leave. Not sure about that one unless I'm super tired, right? If you're up to 1,100 and you're tired and you're starting to look at your 1,100 like profit, then get the hell out of there. The first time you look down at your chips and you start counting them like, hey, I'm up. Okay, then get out. Get out now, because you're not going to be playing properly if you're starting to count your profit. So as soon as you start getting precious with your stack and you've got a nice win there, book it. Go book a nice win. Go get some sushi. Chill. Reset, go get a beer, and then rethink. Do I want to play some more tonight, or do I want to go do something else and play tomorrow? But get away from the table with that win. Book a win. I would always tell anybody playing cash in Vegas, the moment you start thinking about that you've booked a win, book it. Take it out of there and book it, and then you can walk out on the street and go, okay, that's a win. We just won 500. Boom. Now, where do we want to go next? Do we want to take a break, or do we want to go get a free steak with our giant win there, or go somewhere else? But
who's eating? Come on, who's eating in Vegas, man? Get that California sandwich, then you forget about it. My problem is that I want to move, so I don't level up. I move casinos.
Yeah, well, that's great. So that's great. So you put the 700 or 800, 900 in your pocket, and you go somewhere else and buy in for the 2 bills, and that's great. That's great. I have no problem with that.
How often do you level up in Vegas?
Not very often, man. I've done it probably 2 or 3 times in 20 trips. Like I was saying, it's not my bag, because if I'm crushing it at 1-2, I'm just going to keep crushing it. I've made $2,000 or $3,000 playing 1-2 at one sitting. So in Vegas, that's possible. That's not possible at your local casino usually, right? But if you're at the Venetian on a weekend and a UFC weekend, you can literally make $1,000 playing 1-2. So that, to me, that's plenty.
Totally. Birdie has a very interesting question, and we're going to talk about it here in a second. It does work into where we're going. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of live poker here. Now, this is a video that's going to, be around for a long time, and we don't want to date anything, but it's COVID-19 right now, and a lot of our action has moved online because of this, and who knows when we can change that. Let's start talking about the difference between live and online. And Birdie, I'm going to get to that question because it's a very important question, running it multiple times, and it's something that happens at Steve's home game, and it happens. These guys, there'll be $600 or $700, $800 in the pot. They start running multiple times. I'll get to that question, but let's move online right now. How do you differentiate live online from your attack mode and enjoyment level?
Well, I mean, I was forced back online because of the pandemic, man. I mean, I was sworn off online for over a decade. I didn't play any online. I was just 100% live, and I just worked on my live game. I was just face and eyes into my live game. That's all I cared about. And so when then COVID came, I was like, well, I told my wife I'm going to rejuice the Pokerstars account, and she rolled her eyes and couldn't really argue. Like, what are you going to say? It's March and I'm not allowed to leave the house. So I went back into the stars, and I played for a few months, and now I haven't played for a few weeks because it's summertime. I noticed all the fish have gone. Everybody went to the cottage, right? There was a to give you the quick overview. My March, I crushed it. April, I crushed it. May, still doing really good. June, starting to show some ups and downs. July, it was just like, wow, I'm the fish, right? Like, whoa. By July, it was like, wow, now it's tough again, man. So, online, it's not my favorite.
Do you trust the online legitimacy? Do you trust that it's a fair game?
Short answer, not really 100%, because what we've seen in the past and what we know about what you're up against as far as bots and and who God knows what, man. And all the software that guys can buy and players can buy against you to know information about you that you don't have about them. Just it's endless, right? So long story short, online poker is like, if you're desperate to have some fun, fair enough, and God bless and Godspeed. But I'd rather just sit down with 8 or 9 players that I can look in the face and have a pro dealer throw us some cards, man. I can still trust that.
I agree completely. I'm going to start firing questions fast. From Razor Sharp Picks, Spectacular Capper, great guy, says, do you, and we're going to get into bots, don't worry, but do you show your hands at all after winning a hand online?
Yeah, sometimes I do. If we've been, let's say I'm in a tournament and I've been playing at the same table with the same players for an extended period, and we've had some battles and stuff this way or that way, maybe I want to show a bluff. Maybe I want to show that I had the best of it because maybe I'm worried that my image is starting to get tattered up, and I want to show that I did have it. So if you're worried about your image getting tattered, maybe you want to show the best hand. And maybe if you're feeling like your image is too snug, you want to show a bluff. But the main thing is you want to know why you're showing. Don't just show because of your ego. Have a reason to show. If you have a reason and you know why you're showing, then show it. But don't just flop it open because you want the guy to be pissed off, unless that's the reason you're showing it.
Exactly. Beach Boss says I slow roll and talk about people's moms online.
Well, that's the kind of shit that works, man. I fucking hate a slow roller, man. So he'd get me going. He'd get me going right away.
That's live. That's live home games, and we're going to get to that quickly. We're going to get to live home games and slow rolling, and that's it. Okay, there's so much talk about bots online.
Yeah.
First off, for some, what is a bot?
Mm-hmm. And go ahead.
What do you think the percentage of bots are online? So a multifaceted question.
Okay, well, no idea on the percentage, but a bot is basically a program that plays poker without any human help, any human intervention. So it's just a program that's playing in seat number 4, and it's never going to really make a mathematical mistake. It's just going to play perfectly forward, and it's never going to get tired, and it can play for 18 hours if it wants, and it can play 18 tables at once. That's how you spot them. One way to spot a bot is if they make their action exactly the same amount of time every time. Okay, so if it's like and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bang on a bluff, and then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bang fold, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bang call, and you just see the same player doing the same exact cadence every time. It's 5 seconds and make his move every time. But that's one way, and also just look people up if they're playing 12 tables and they're playing perfectly in step. 5 seconds, and they're never late, they're never early, well, then that's impossible. If you're playing 12 tables, sometimes you're going to be late, sometimes you're going to be early, right? So if they're playing a whole bunch of tables and they're always on time, 4 or 5 seconds, if they don't respond to a chat them up, right?
Good call, yeah.
So your buddy who's talking about moms, get after the moms, right? And if you don't get anything, and they're playing every 5 seconds on the clock, and you look them up in the thing and they're playing 12 tables, and they've been playing since 6 o'clock and it's midnight, well, that's a fucking bot.
Absolutely. No, that's very, very, I love that. Okay, so that is as much time really as we're going to spend for the online spot. Let's move on.
That's all it fucking deserves, Jimbo.
Yeah, we just want to play live. We want all the money in the fucking middle of the pot.
Oh, up in the country's a big battle.
Let's fight for it live. Okay, so let's go on to how do you spread a good home game?
Oh, yeah.
I got some questions that are coming from the chat about home games. And,
this is perfect, Jimmy, because my technical staff is just coming in with one of the ways you host a good home game. Just
man.
like right on cue, right? You want to get the bottle with the stopper in it. It needs a stopper,
It
like
does need a stopper.
a regulator, a manager, the governor.
Man.
It needs a governor.
All right, you got my. I got it. All right, I don't have an assistant. Sadly, I got to bring my own bottle that I've almost finished.
I can assure you, I don't get that assistant help very often, man. I have to be on live to get that.
Okay, but you are you're at your poker table right now.
Yes.
So let's talk about a home game, and let's talk about some of the issues that come up from a home game. But first off, how do you spread a good home game? What are the right ingredients to host them?
Oh, so fun. Well, first of all, a space that's awesome. That helps, right? Like, what you want is one of your buddies has to have a space to do it, right? And when we bought this house, I was just so amazed that we had this little bunker basement with the last guy this old guy that owned it. He converted the basement into this apartment so that he could rent it to kids going to U of T. And he put a cement bunker entrance out the back door, a private entrance to it. Okay. And it's pretty awesome, man. But so a good space, but the main thing, number one, a dealer. Get yourself a dealer. Get yourself a pro dealer. And, in smaller communities that can be harder to find, but most places you're going to be able to find someone that can spread you a game, and just tip your dealer, and you'll be amazed at how much that is. Like, that's huge. That's huge. I have an amazing dealer, and that's really what makes the world go around. We get 30 or 40 hands in an hour, even when people are partying, right? You can't deal for yourselves.
Explain how you pay the dealer, just to make it clear for everybody.
Well, we tip him.
Well, in the beginning, when you buy in, right? Does it $5 goes to the...
No, that was the old system. That was my last guy.
Okay.
And now that I got my new guy, and he's a real pro, he deals in a whole bunch of different underground games. And when I got him, and he was, I found him through the tournaments I was talking about, and a dealer that I know in those tournaments, and I wanted him to deal for me, and he said, "No, I can't because you're on the other side of town, but I know the guy you need," and he hooked me up with my guy. And sure enough, he knew the guy I needed, because this has just been awesome. And so basically, we just tip the dealer, man, and he does great, because like I say, if we're doing 30 hands an hour and we play for several hours, I don't have to do the math for you. He's doing great.
He does better than most of us. Ken Man says a dealer's tipped at the end of the game when you cash out at my games. For us, we tip after every hand, the winner.
Yeah, we just tip. Yeah, we just, as you're dragging the pot, you throw him $1 or $2. If you drag a really big pot, you throw him $5. It's simple as that.
So this is a question from our man Birdie from earlier today. And this is a very interested to hear your answer, because we talk about it. We've got issues with it. For good and bad. It's not like we're not angry about it, but where do you stand on running it multiple times? When it's all in and you're ahead, how are you determining the number of times you run it? And for those of you who don't fully understand what we mean, let's say a player goes all in, competitor calls it.
Yeah, the board has the board has a king high and 2 spades, and I've got ace deuce of spades, so I have the flush draw, and Sammy has king queen, so he's got the top pair, big kicker, so he's way ahead, but I'm drawing to a spade, and we're both all in, and we've got a $600 pot there, and we're looking at each other. Now, right here, we're going to look at the history of what we've done tonight. If Sammy's been a dick to me earlier, or I've been a dick to Jimbo Baggins earlier, that's going to play into it, right? Do you run it, or you don't? I always run it if my opponent wants to, with like 2 exceptions at my home game. I have 2 exceptions where they never run it, so I'm not going to run it with them. But pretty much everybody else, I'll let them decide if they want to run it. Either way, if I'm ahead or not, I really don't care. I'll run it. Especially for a giant pot, you're usually better off running it in the long run because you'll cut down your big swings and you'll win enough of them. And I don't mind 2/3 of a giant pot.
Sure, I'll run it too. The only times I say no, I just want to run it once, is if I'm sitting there with $80 to $140 and I'm trying to double up, and then I'm ahead, and I won't run it.
No. One thing that you hear sometimes when people want to run it, one of the combatants might say, "I'm stuck, bud. Do you mind if we just go once?" You know, so the main thing is it's all fair in love and war, and anybody who gets cranky over once or whatever can't be cranky. Like, it's always anybody's any bettor's right to say once only, please. You know, that nobody can ever give you the gears for saying once only, please. So, you know, if you want to, you know, and I have friends, I've got buddies who are really good players. One in particular he wrote a book on blackjack. My buddy Dave Mary, he only will run it once, strictly. So I respect that, you know. He and the way he puts it is, I didn't study the odds all my life to start running it 2-3 times. I didn't study those odds, right? So I respect that. Totally respect that.
Absolutely. Mary, very talented poker player who we just feed alcohol to, because when we do that, he gets worse.
He gets loose. If we can get him on a little bit of red wine, at least we'll have a chance against him, right?
Yeah. Cheech Marina says, I always let the other guy pick his poison. I'm the same. Just the way Tim mentioned it, unless I need a double up. I'm totally with you, Jimmy. If you're stuck, if you're on your 3rd buy-in and you just jammed it for the 3rd time and you want to go once only, I 100% understand. No one's going to. And bottom line, nobody can give you the gears. No, never. If you just want to run it once, run it once. It's your right, you know. And I would prefer everybody just run it once. And I think that the reason why it's run multiple times is because at a home game with a $200 buy-in, there's less fear to go all in for a $400, $500 shove when you know your opponent is going to be okay with you running it 2 or 3 times. And I want the fear. I want you to be scared to push your $400 in because we're only going to run it once. And that's why I don't like. But
I like that. I dig that. I can.
We're
dig
at a
that.
home game with our friends, and I mean, they're not all friends.
They're going to give you the puppy eyes. Can we run it a couple of times?
I don't care about the puppy eyes. I don't give a fuck about the puppy eyes. But I do. It's not like at a casino when you're at a table with a bunch of strangers and you're only there to take their fucking money.
And you can't run it.
Yeah, but you hate it. It's a friendly game, and
no, but it can, it can get fun and splashy too. I mean, and how many times have we ran it 3 times and one guy just bricks 3 times in a row? That's always amazing.
We've seen it, but I do think that part of the reason why like your home game is so active, to put it that, is because the guys at the table know that if they go all in with their 500 or 600, that their opponent is going to be fine with them running it 3 times. If it wasn't allowed, I think your game would tighten up a whole bunch.
Right. We can't have that because I want the guys to be able to run it if they want. Right.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Like that's the way we run it. We play it like if 2 guys, if your head's up, then I don't care what you 2 decide to do with your money. Right. It's you two. It's your all's money in the middle. And if you want to flip a coin for it or stand on your head and play bottle caps, I don't give a fuck. It's your money. It's your pot. You figure it out. Right. So if you want to run it, I don't care. Sure. And that's over the years of hosting the game, that's become the most popular stance. Big time. big time.
Yeah.
Because everybody still has you and others. You can always just put it on the wall. I don't run it, and then you'll have that fear, right? You can have that fear. You can just say, "Jimmy, don't run it, man," and then everyone knows that, right? Because we've got. Go ahead.
I think this would be probably a good angle for me at your game.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Maybe you get called less.
Yeah, no, I think that is good. Like everybody knows Scotty doesn't run it and Dave doesn't run it. There's 3 or 4 characters that are famous for they don't run it, right?
Yeah, but those guys instill no fear in me whatsoever. So
no. Well, I don't think you're scared of anybody at my game, are you?
But I think I think that it would probably help me. I'm just, obviously thinking out loud here.
You're thinking about your image.
Yeah.
How you're viewed, right?
If everybody knew that I only run it once all the time,
right.
I think I'd probably get less callers.
Well, I think that's a cool tact. I think you should do that. Next time we get together, you just come in and pronounce that Jimmy don't run it, baby.
I'm going to make shirts. I'm going to make T-shirts. Okay, let's put a Jimmy don't run. Let's put a bow on this.
Jeez, man, I mean, I'm just a low bagger, baby. I hope I was of some help or something, man.
This has been extremely enjoyable, and all these poker players in the chat, and they're handicappers as well. It also helps that I'm having big old fucking giant night tonight. Big old. Nice. And we don't want to date this shit, but I'm just putting my ball sack up on the table in MLB.
Nice.
And that feels really, really good. And in NHL, in NHL, things can change fast, but that we're playoffs now. Those of you watching, they were in playoffs.
Suffice it to say, Jimmy having a big night.
Corey Hart, Carey Price, first period under, full game under 5. Let's get the ball sacks out, pop them on the table, and get paid out because I've had a couple bad nights in a row, and I could use a quick K, and that's what I'm getting tonight. Sorry.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Let's finish off this show with who do you consider the best poker players in the world right now?
Oh my God.
Tough question, and I know things change, and I'm interested to hear.
Wow. That's so wild because that's so hard. It's that's sort of like fucking golf, right? Like there's a top 30 or 40 on a given day, and even by next month that top 30 40 shifts a little bit, but there's names like there's Fedor Holtz, fucking Isaac Haxton, David Peters is a cash game witch. You could make a case for Bryn Kenny. He's made about 50 million the last couple of years. You could make it just from the money standpoint. Justin Bonomo is one of my favorites. I love Darren Elias. But you know what? A lot of the old guard, a lot of the Hall of Famers are still doing it, man. You could do a lot worse than banking on Esfandiari on a given night, or even Eric Seidel is still. Eric Seidel, I think, is the 4th biggest money earner over the last couple of years. Like that guy's my friggin' age, man. So, and Phil Ivey isn't dead. If Phil Ivey shows up at your table, you should probably notice. You know what I mean? Still, so like it's hard to know, man. But there's a hell of a lot of great players. The game has improved so much that it's just so tough, and there's no reason for anybody not to improve because there's just endless amounts of help out there online. And it's and here's the thing, low baggers. Figure out what kind of help you need for your game. What are you trying to accomplish? Are you trying to win some sit and goes at $5 a buy-in? Are you trying to play 2-5 and buy in for $500? There's training for every variance, right? So try to find the training that will be teaching you about the opponents that you're going to be facing. Like if I go on upswing and study 5-10, I'm not going to help myself playing 1-3, right? Because my 1-3 opponents aren't going to be thinking like 5-10 players, So get the training that you need for what you need, and just kick ass, man.
Yeah, man. King Sports, you ever play with Amir Vahidi? Monster player. I've not. Tim, when he played in the WSOP, played with some, pros. So many very, very interesting points brought up in this show, Tim. I enjoyed it immensely.
Thanks for having me, man.
Oh,
that was really fun.
What a treat! What a treat!
I love talking about cards, man. We didn't even get into the history of poker.
No. We could do round 2. Also, we'd like to do some. We're working out getting some poker games that we can all do together. The low baggers together. I mean, we're going to meet up in Vegas. Another time. Tim came down to the IFBC in Vegas.
That was amazing. I was hanging out with all you guys at Caesars. That was just like better's heaven, man. Holy shit.
It was nice. It was real nice, man. It was real nice.
We had some nice barbecue that night. Woo!
Oh, I remember nothing. I came the first night we were in Vegas for that trip. I came second in the Caesars tournament and woke up with a chipped tooth. So I don't know what happened, but I cashed.
I busted out with pocket kings, and the lady showed me aces, and I was like, "Well, that's what's a boy to do, right?"
You're a great guy. You're a great guy, Steeves. Thank you all for joining us and supporting us here at odds.com. This is Odds headquarters here. Damon Santori, Kristen Allen, a.k.a. Nutflush Allen, Michael Irvelina, Cheech Marinas, Connor Mac Picks, Alex Ramirez, Ken Mann, Bobby Lee Swagger. Lee Swagger saying, this has been an amazing interview. Yeah, Tim, you were great. Birdie says, it's never evolving game, and it is awesome. Gabe Killian. Gabe, I want to do more work with you moving forward, man. Respect comedically and also your MMA cap. Buzznuts721, Evan Landry, Chris Sommerman, Alex Ramirez, a.k.a. Spidey Play of the Day, Beach Boss, Michael Irvelina, all you guys. Thank you, guys. Michael Irvelina says, don't forget the Clippers tonight. Look, after losing, oh man, let's not date the video, but losing the Raptors first half gives me a pinched nerve in my it bothers me very much. There's Clint, the diehard MMA podcaster, coming in late. Clint, great poker player himself, plays heavy. Tim, my man, any last words for these great cappers and everybody watching?
Oh, the luck favors the bold. So kick some ass, low baggers. And much love. It was great to be on, Jimmy. Thanks so much for having me, man.
What a treat, man. I can't wait till we can get back to your poker table and get back to Vegas where we belong.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Where my parents met.
Oh, that's such a romantic story.
Flamingo Hilton. Who my dad hooked up with my mom very quickly, supposedly. Love you guys. Get paid in full. Leche, Los Bookmakers. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you to our esteemed guest, Mr. Tim Steeves.